Okay, Itamak Skanatoni, good morning. It is Friday, February 9th, 2018, in the last quarter of the lunar cycle Gatto, the fourth winter moon, and I am back at the Sspopiikimi, the turtle waters. It's very cold, 30 degrees below zero, and it's a lot of new mouse tracks here since yesterday, but mice are not what I'm interested in. I can't stop thinking about the skunk who I relocated, and I'm a bit troubled by it because of the cold temperatures. I don't know what kind of suffering that animal might have went through trying to find adequate accommodations, you know, to survive the night. Really cold. And you know, he had a crawl space under a nice heated house that probably was serving those needs pretty well. I think, I don't know, when it comes to the skunks and raccoons, I think maybe I need to shift my protocol a little bit and at least make suggestions to residents that have animals that they want relocated. At least suggest to them that we wait through any brutally cold periods like this, because I'm feeling pretty guilty, and I know that skunk had been through some prior trauma. So I don't know if you noticed on my video from yesterday, but that skunk had a good part of his tail, the tip of his tail, missing. So any case, I don't have much time this morning, hardly even a half hour, 40 minutes, but his trail, the skunk's trail, is still right here, still really evident, and I thought I would at least come out here and see if he made it into the log pile, or see where he went. I might not have enough time to do it. I don't know how far he traveled, but I can follow a ways and then maybe return in the afternoon. I'm just concerned and and feeling guilty, and I want to hopefully learn that the skunk is okay, you know, but we'll see. So yeah, just out here quickly, briefly this morning, and thought I would share it with everybody on the channel. Well, one thing's pretty clear right off the bat. That is that the skunk did not make use of the log pile as I had hoped. The log pile is right out here. It's a great place, I think, for animals to get into. I know a lot of porcupines have wintered there in the past, but the skunk's trail never goes in that direction. I can see where the skunk has continued moving along right here, this path that his body made. And I should have considered this yesterday. I should have, at the very least, let him go right at the log jam there, because skunks don't operate, I don't think, very well with their eyesight, hey? Like, walking past here, that skunk just probably never saw the logs. In my experience with them, it's not until I make some kind of noise, you know, or until they catch a whiff of me with the wind, that they notice my presence. So he missed the log jam. He missed the log jam. Oh, look at this. This is good. This is a good sign, though. Check it out. He's come here along the fence line. This is a little goose fence to keep the goose families from feeding their goslings out on the golf course. Check him out. He's gone right into here. It's just a little drainage pipe. that I've seen weasels use many times in the past. A lot of times this pump house here that takes water from the pond, pumps it to irrigate the golf course. A lot of times the weasels will live in there because there's always rodents, hey? You can see look at the tracks, the rodent tracks coming out. This is a mouse coming out. Over here we got something else going on. Yeah, another 2 different species of mouse here, all around this pump house. But in any case, the raccoon has found a hole. He's found a hole that, you know, this is just a drainage into the pond, but it'll be perfect. It'll be perfect. So, mystery solved. Calmness of mind, you know. I know he's found some place to hole up, and he can go into that kind of brumation mode and last out this cold. And then when it warms up, he'll have plenty of resources around here to utilize. So I'm happy. I'm happy. That didn't take much at all. In fact, when I last saw the skunk yesterday, he was just right up here. I could have, if I'd have sat or stood and watched another 10-15 minutes, I could have seen exactly where he went. And not that, I mean, it just would have saved me a lot of grief in my mind yesterday if I had done something like that, because I really did think about that skunk all night and was troubled. So yeah, that's a happy ending to that problem. I'm going to follow the deer trail here since I got a couple of minutes and go into the forest main, you know, just to see if I happen to bump into an owl. We're almost into the next lunar cycle, which is the eagle moon Pitaki-some, and that's when all the owls are going to be should start incubating eggs. And of course, usually in the winter I try to get a bead on one of those nests, and this winter I have not located a nest to follow to watch. And I'm hoping that there'll be one, you know, within walking distance of my usual terrain, but I don't know if there's going to be, since I haven't found one. But I do know that there's been a great horned owl hanging out in the forest main. Saw him once, and I've seen evidence of him a couple of times, so keep hoping to bump in again. It's the Beaver Lodge. So giant. It's a big lodge. My toes are freezing. I made a mistake and I didn't wear any socks inside my gum boots, which is usually okay for me to temperatures like even -20. But -30 is a different story. And I made this mistake earlier this winter and I should have remembered. It's not too smart, but I don't have long to go. I'll just go through the forest and head back home. This is the perch that I was able to identify by sign as belonging to the owl. This just this dead limb on this younger cottonwood crossing the path. If the snow weren't here, I could show you the owl pellets and evidence that he or she had been eating crawdads, and I think it was a she because it was a pretty large owl. When we saw her, me and my students, and when we saw her, she was just up here a ways. That's why I'm continuing to walk once I get to that area and haven't seen her. I think I have to head out and get to work. But one of the things that I was thinking of after seeing where that skunk, the hole that the skunk decided to go into, that culvert pipe, it just reminded me of how adept the skunks are to live synanthropically, hey? Like, they really thrive with us and with the kind of environmental features that we create. Even if it had gone into that log pile, that's a human creation of this particular culture, you know? One of the things that I remind myself of kind of frequently, and by the way, this is where these trees right here, where my students and I, the one weekend a few weeks ago, encountered the owl. So I think I should turn around and head back the other way. Just got this curacao. It's just a blob of snow in this tree that looks a little odd. Any case, yeah, I was reminded of, I remind myself often of what Albert Blackwater said during one of our project meetings and kind of studies. He was one of my students, but he's also an elder for one of the sacred societies and blood tribe. And we were talking about the environment here on the river bottom, and he noted that there was so much dead wood in the forests in Lethbridge, and that in the past that would not have been the case, because the dead wood was the firewood, so it would have all been collected. Blackfoot never chopped down live trees for firewood. Only took the dead wood. So yeah, the forest would have been much cleaner of dead wood in the past, and today, you know, we have naturalists arguing that people should not disturb the dead wood in the forest because it creates environments for certain animals, and it does. You know, there's no arguing that. It absolutely does. It feeds the ecosystem to have that wood there, but in different ways than it had in the past when we actually lived sustainably in this environment and utilized our resources, you know, played our human role in this environment, right? The natural human role, I guess. Well, I don't know, like, that word natural in itself is pretty problematic, right? Because everything is natural, and the way that our culture is at current, our globalizing culture, is not unnatural. However, it might not be sustainable because nature plays back, you know? We're not alone, even though we try to pretend that we have a human environment and a nature environment, you know, which is what I was doing yesterday. I was bringing the skunk out of the human environment to drop him off back in the nature environment where we believe he belongs. Well, not we as in, you know, everybody believes this, because certainly I don't, but I do believe that transporting the skunks in such fashion is better than having them potentially trapped by somebody else and gassed and killed just for being alive. You know? But in any case, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was moving it to the nature environment. The so-called nature environment. But where did it go once it came here? It went right into a human landscape feature to save its own life, because it is dependent on us. Not 100%, but for the skunks to thrive, you know, this is a perfect culture. This is the way that we're living is wonderful for them. It's not the best, you know. If we could just leave them alone, then then it might be perfect. But it's approximating it, at least as it stands. They're quite adapted to live with us, and as you saw in the video yesterday, not so adapted to some features of the so-called natural landscape, like the deep snow and the cold that we've just got. He's got to go into shutdown mode. Anyway, I think this is probably going to be it for this morning. I'm making my way back toward the north end of the pond and the parking lot. I gotta get out of here. I got a meeting in about an hour and other things to accomplish this day. But I couldn't rest without finding out what happened to that to that skunk.